Now, let's begin. Act 1. The morning light filtered through the kitchen window of the Montana farmhouse as Russell Atkinson poured his second cup of coffee. At 53, he'd earned every gray hair and scar that marked his body. 27 years with a government agency that officially didn't exist had left him with a comfortable pension, a collection of skills most people couldn't fathom, and a daughter who knew him only as a consultant who traveled frequently. The burner phone buzzed in the drawer. Russell hadn't heard from that number in 18 months, not since his final contract in Prague. He stared at it for a long moment before answering. "You're retired," the voice said. Philip Mack, his former handler. "I am. We have a situation in Venezuela. The kind you specialized in." Russell watched a hawk circle outside. "Find someone else. There is no one else with your success rate." Then the success rate drops. "I'm done, Phil." A pause. "Understood. The offer stands if you change your mind." Russell deleted the call log and crushed the SIM card. That life was behind him. He had 40 acres of land, a workshop where he restored vintage motorcycles, and most importantly, he had Sophia. His daughter was 24 now, finishing her master's degree in environmental science at Berkeley. She was brilliant, compassionate, everything good that somehow came from a man who'd spent nearly 3 decades making people disappear. The regular phone rang. Sophia's name appeared on screen. "Hey, sweetheart." "Dad." Her voice carried that familiar warmth. "I have someone I want you to meet." Russell smiled. "Finally introducing me to this mysterious boyfriend. His name is Devin. We've been together for 6 months. I really like him, Dad. He's coming to Montana with me for Thanksgiving. Looking forward to it." "What's he study?" "Business administration. His father has import-export companies in Mexico and the Southwest." Something flickered in Russell's mind. The old instincts never fully slept. "What's the family name?" "Doherty. Devin Doherty." Russell kept his voice steady. "Sounds good, honey. Can't wait to meet him." After hanging up, he opened his laptop and started searching. Devin Doherty appeared clean, college student, social media showing typical wealthy kid activities. But Russell went deeper, using access codes he'd sworn he wouldn't use again. The father, Santos Doherty, had a legitimate shipping business, but the subsidiary companies had connections to several entities flagged by DEA and FBI. Not proof, just shadows. Russell forced himself to relax. Maybe the kid was clean. Maybe he was trying to be different from his father. He spent the next week preparing the house, cooking Sophia's favorite meals, and trying to convince himself that his paranoia was just a father's protective instinct. Thanksgiving arrived with fresh snow and the sound of Sophia's laughter as she and Devin pulled up in a rented SUV. Russell watched from the porch as his daughter emerged, radiant and happy. Devin stepped out next, tall, handsome, expensive haircut, designer clothes try to look casual. "Dad!" Sophia ran up and hugged him tightly. "I missed you." "Missed you too, sweetheart." He held her for an extra moment, then extended his hand to Devin. "Russell." "Devin, sir. Sophia's told me a lot about you." The young man's grip was firm, his smile confident. "Beautiful property you have here." Over dinner, Devin charmed with stories about Berkeley, his business plans, his respect for Sophia's dedication to environmental conservation. He said all the right things, laughed at the right moments. But Russell noticed small details. How Devin's smile never quite reached his eyes when Sophia wasn't looking directly at him. How his hand on her arm sometimes gripped just a fraction too tight. How he subtly contradicted her in ways disguised as jokes. "Sophia's always been passionate about saving every little creature," Devin said, grinning. "Last week she made us late to a dinner because she insisted on relocating a spider instead of just stepping on it." Sophia laughed, but Russell saw the brief flash of embarrassment. "Every life matters," she said softly. "Of course, babe. It's adorable." The word adorable landed like a dismissal. That night, Russell stood in his workshop, unable to sleep. His phone buzzed, a text from Sophia. "Thank you for being so welcoming. Devin really liked you. Love you, Dad." He wanted to believe everything was fine. But 48 hours later, as he waved goodbye to them, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. Chapter 2. 3 months passed. Sophia's calls became less frequent, and when she did call, Devin was always there. Russell heard it in her voice, a careful quality like she was editing herself. When he suggested visiting California, she made excuses. School was intense. Devin's family had planned a trip. Next month would be better. Then came Valentine's Day. Russell called and got voicemail. He tried again that evening. No answer. The next morning, Sophia called back. Sorry, Dad. Phone died. How was your Valentine's? A pause. It was nice. Devin surprised me with dinner. You sound tired. Just stressed with finals coming up. I should go. Sophia. Russell's voice hardened slightly. You can talk to me about anything. Another pause, longer this time. I know, Dad. I love you. The call ended too quickly. Russell booked a flight to San Francisco that afternoon. He didn't tell Sophia he was coming. Instead, he parked near her apartment building near campus and waited. Old habits, surveillance, patience, observation. Sophia emerged around noon with Devin. Russell's chest tightened. His daughter wore sunglasses despite the overcast sky, and her movements were stiff. They walked to a cafe, and through the window, Russell watched their interaction. Devin's body language was possessive, controlling. When Sophia removed her sunglasses to read the menu, Russell saw the fading bruise around her left eye. His hands gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles went white. They ordered, and Devin left for the restroom. Russell crossed the street and entered the cafe, sliding into the chair across from his daughter. Dad! Sophia's shock was immediate. She fumbled to put her sunglasses back on. Don't! Russell's voice was quiet but firm. He gently reached out and lowered the glasses. The bruise was yellowish-green, at least a week old. What happened? I fell. Stupid, really. Tripped going up the stairs. Sophia. Her eyes filled with tears. It's not what you think. Then tell me what to think. He didn't mean it. He was drunk, and I said something that upset him, and it was an accident. He apologized. He brought me flowers. It won't happen again. Every word was a knife in Russell's chest. Baby, listen to me. There you are. Devin's voice cut through the moment. He stopped when he saw Russell, and something dark flickered across his face before the charm returned. Mr. Atkinson, this is a surprise. Russell stood slowly, his 6-foot frame suddenly seeming larger. We need to talk. Alone. Devin's jaw tightened. About what? You know exactly what. Sophia grabbed Russell's arm. Dad, please. Don't make a scene. Come outside, Russell said to Devin, his tone leaving no room for argument. They walked to an alley beside the cafe. The moment they were out of sight, Russell moved with the speed of someone who'd spent decades in combat. He had Devin against the wall, forearm across his throat. Touch my daughter again, and I will end you, Russell said quietly. Do you understand me? Devin's initial fear shifted to anger. You have no idea who you're threatening. I know exactly who I'm threatening. A coward who hits women. My father. Your father doesn't scare me. Russell pressed harder. Your father has never met anyone like me. Devin struggled, but Russell's grip was iron. Finally, he nodded. Russell released him and stepped back. Stay away from Sophia. That's her choice, not yours, old man. Russell walked back to find Sophia waiting, her face pale. Dad, you can't. Pack your things. You're coming home. I'm not a child. Then stop acting like one by staying with someone who hurts you. The argument continued for an hour. Sophia insisted it was isolated, that Devin was under stress, that Russell didn't understand. Finally, exhausted, she made him promise to leave and let her handle it her way. Russell left, but he didn't go far. He spent the next 2 weeks in San Francisco, watching from a distance. Devin became more controlling, showing up at Sophia's classes, monitoring her phone, isolating her from friends. Russell documented everything, including the night Devin shoved Sophia into their apartment building so hard she stumbled. He was preparing to intervene directly when Sophia called. Dad, I broke up with him. You were right. I'm sorry I didn't listen. Relief flooded through him. I'm proud of you. Do you need me to come get you? No, I'm okay. He took it better than I expected. Actually seemed relieved. That should have been the end of it. But Russell knew men like Devin. The submission was temporary, a tactical retreat. Men who hit women didn't take rejection well. Be careful anyway. Keep your doors locked. Let me know if he contacts you. I will. Love you, Dad. 2 days later, Sophia missed their scheduled call. Russell tried her number repeatedly. Nothing. He called her roommate, Annie Fuller. Mr. Atkinson? Sophie is in the hospital. It's really bad. Chapter 3. Russell drove 90 miles an hour to the airport and caught the next flight. By the time he reached San Francisco General Hospital, it was midnight. Annie met him in the waiting room, her face tear-stained. "They're still with her," Annie said. "The doctors. She has a skull fracture, Dad. Devin came to the apartment this afternoon. They argued. He threw her against the corner of the kitchen counter. I heard it from my room. By the time I got there, she was on the floor, bleeding from her head, and he was just standing there. Then he ran." Russell felt something inside him go very quiet and very cold. "Where is she?" A doctor emerged, Terrence Bender, according to his badge. "Mr. Atkinson, your daughter is stable, but the next 24 hours are critical. The impact caused a depressed skull fracture and intracranial bleeding. We performed emergency surgery to relieve the pressure. Can I see her?" "Briefly." "She's sedated." Sophia looked impossibly small on the hospital bed, her head wrapped in bandages, machines beeping around her. Russell sat beside her and took her hand carefully. "I'm here, sweetheart," he whispered, "and I'm going to fix this." He spent the night in the chair beside her bed. By morning, she was awake but groggy. When she saw him, tears spilled down her cheeks. "I'm sorry, Dad. You warned me." "Chill. None of this is your fault. None of it." The police came. Detective Jason Savage, a tired-looking man in his 40s. "Mr. Atkinson, we have a warrant for Devin Doherty's arrest. Problem is, he's gone. Left the country on his father's private jet. Flew to Mexico 6 hours after the assault. Extradition. We're working on it. Santos Doherty has considerable resources and connections. It could take months if it happens at all." After the detective left, Russell stepped into the hallway and made a call on his secure phone. "Phil, I need everything you have on Santos Doherty and his operations in Mexico." "Russell, whatever you're thinking. Everything. Within the hour. You're retired. Not anymore." The file arrived as Russell sat in the hospital cafeteria. Santos Doherty ran the Doherty Cartel, one of the largest drug trafficking organizations in Sinaloa. Legitimate businesses providing cover for cocaine, heroin, and human trafficking. Estimated net worth, $3 billion. Estimated body count, over 300. His compound outside Culiacan was a fortress, 40 armed men, state-of-the-art security, connections to local police and military. Devin was Santos's only son. His mother, Marina Doherty, had died of cancer 3 years ago. After her death, Santos had become more ruthless, and Devin had been insulated from consequences his entire life. Russell was reading about the compound's layout when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Video message. He opened it. The video showed Devin in what looked like a luxurious hacienda, sitting beside a pool, drinking from a crystal glass. He was laughing. The camera panned to show Santos sitting across from him, smoking a cigar. Then Devin looked directly at the camera. "Hey there, Mr. Atkinson. Sorry about your daughter. She should have known her place. Girls need to understand when they belong to someone." He laughed again. "My father wanted me to send you a message." Santos leaned forward. "Your daughter disrespected my son. She embarrassed him. That has consequences. If you come for Devin, if you try to hurt my family, I'll send your daughter back to you in bags. Piece by piece. This is the only warning you get." The video ended. Russell played it 3 times, his expression never changing. Then he made several calls to contacts he hadn't spoken with in years, people who owed him favors, people who specialized in things that didn't appear on any official record. He returned to Sophia's room. She was sleeping. He kissed her forehead. "Be back soon, sweetheart." At the nurse's station, he found Annie. "I need you to stay with Sophia. Don't leave her alone. If anyone asks where I am, you don't know." "Mr. Atkinson, what are you going to do?" "Why should have done the first time I saw that bruise." That evening, Russell boarded a flight to Mexico City using a passport that identified him as Alan Lambert, a mining equipment salesman. By midnight, he was in a hotel room, assembling the equipment that had been waiting for him in a storage locker, equipment provided by old friends who didn't ask questions. On the bed, Tactical gear, weapons, communications equipment, surveillance tools, and detailed blueprints of Santos Doherty's compound that Philip Mack had accidentally left in a shared secure folder. Russell studied the layout until he could navigate it blindfolded. 40 armed guards, rotating shifts, security cameras, motion sensors, guard towers, attack dogs. Santos had built himself a castle, confident that no one would dare assault it. He was wrong. Act 2. Chapter 4. The town of Culiacan sprawled beneath a haze of heat and exhaust as Russell checked into a small hotel 3 miles from Santos Doherty's compound. He'd spent 2 days in Mexico City establishing his cover, meeting with contacts, and acquiring additional resources. Now came the hardest part, reconnaissance without being detected. His contact, a former Guatemalan Special Forces operator named Cecil Cantu, met him at a taco stand near the market. Cecil had worked with Russell on a job in Honduras 8 years ago. "You're crazy coming here," Cecil said, biting into a taco. "Santos owns this city. Police, mayor, half the military garrison. I need eyes on the compound. Real-time information on guard rotations, security systems, weak points. You're planning to hit him? Russell, he has an army. Armies have weaknesses. Everything has weaknesses." Cecil studied him. "This is personal. Very. What's the pay?" 200,000. "Half now, half when I'm done." Cecil whistled. "Must be very personal. Okay. I have a cousin who does deliveries to the compound, food, supplies. He can get you photos, maybe some intel on the interior. I need more than that. I need someone inside." "Inside?" "No one goes in and out without Santos knowing. He's paranoid. After his wife died, he trusts almost nobody." Russell thought for a moment. "What about maintenance? Security systems need servicing. There's a company, Techno Segura. They handle the compound's electronics. But getting hired there? Santos vets everyone personally. Find me someone who works there. Someone with gambling debts or a sick relative. Someone desperate." Cecil nodded. "Give me 2 days." While Cecil worked on that angle, Russell conducted his own surveillance. He rented a commercial van and posed as a lost delivery driver, circling the area around the compound. The property occupied 15 acres, surrounded by a 12-foot wall topped with razor wire and cameras every 20 feet. Guard towers at each corner. Single main gate with a secondary service entrance on the eastern side. Through long-range optics, Russell observed the guard patterns. 20 men during the day, 20 at night, rotating every 8 hours. Santos had former military among them. Their movements were disciplined, professional. This wouldn't be a simple smash and grab. This required precision. Cecil called on day 3. "I found you, man. Eddie Meyer. Works for Techno Segura as a senior technician. Daughter has leukemia. Medical bills are crushing him. Santos's people pay well, but not well enough." They met Eddie in a church parking lot after dark. The man was 45, balding, with the exhausted eyes of someone who hadn't slept properly in months. "My daughter's 8 years old," Eddie said. "She needs treatment in Houston. Experimental therapy. It costs more than I'll make in 5 years." Russell opened a briefcase containing $200,000 in cash. Eddie's eyes widened. "This is yours if you help me. Another 200 when it's done. What do you need?" "Access to the compound's security system. Complete schematics. Camera locations, motion sensors, alarm triggers, and a way to disable them remotely." Eddie paled. "You're going after Santos." "I'm going after his son. Santos is just in the way. If he finds out I helped you, he'll kill my entire family. If he finds out, he'll be too dead to do anything about it. Your daughter gets her treatment in Houston. You disappear with your family. New identities, new life. I have people who can arrange it." Eddie looked at the money, then at Russell. "When? I need everything in 72 hours. The system's complex. It'll take time to map every 72 hours. Eddie swallowed and nodded. "Okay, but I need your word. My family stays safe." "You have it." Over the next 3 days, Eddie fed Russell detailed information. The security system was military-grade. Motion sensors, pressure plates, thermal cameras, redundant power systems. But Eddie found the vulnerability. The system was controlled from a central server room, and while it was protected, it still required external access for remote diagnostics and updates. I can create a backdoor, Eddie explained, showing Russell a complex diagram. Insert malicious code during my next maintenance visit. It'll lie dormant until you activate it with this frequency. He handed Russell a specialized transmitter. When you trigger it, you'll have approximately 18 minutes before their backup systems detect the intrusion and reboot everything. 18 minutes. Maybe 20 if they're slow to respond. After that, full lockdown protocol. Steel shutters over all windows and doors. The place becomes a vault. Russell studied the compound layouts Eddie had provided. 18 minutes to cross 200 yards of open ground, neutralize 40 armed men, reach the main house, find Devin, and deal with Santos. It was impossible, which meant he'd have to make it possible. What about their communications? Russell asked. Satellite-based, independent from the main security grid. Can you jam it? Eddie shook his head. Not without industrial equipment. But I can introduce a virus that'll create interference on their frequencies. Make it harder for guards to coordinate. Do it. Russell spent the next 2 days acquiring additional equipment from sources Cecil connected him with: military-grade weapons, explosives, night vision gear, medical supplies. He also made arrangements with Philip Mack's people to have an extraction team on standby across the border in Texas. You're really doing this, Cecil said as they loaded the final equipment into a nondescript truck. I'm really doing this. You're one man against 40. I've had worse odds. When? Russell smiled coldly. Bogota, 09. 23 hostiles in a 6-story building. Made it out with the target and 0 friendly casualties. This is different. These aren't just guards. Santos has sicarios, killers who've been doing this since they were kids. They're loyal, well-trained, and vicious. Then they'll die vicious. Cecil studied him. Your daughter. She must be very special. She's everything good I never was. Chapter 5. The night was moonless. Russell had planned for that. He sat in the van a mile from the compound, reviewing every detail one final time. Eddie had activated the backdoor code 2 hours ago and texted confirmation. Ready when you are. Russell wore black tactical gear, a suppressed rifle across his back, 2 handguns, combat knife, and enough ammunition to fight a small war. His face was painted to break up its outline in the darkness. At 2:47 a.m., he activated the transmitter. 2 miles away in the compound, every security camera went dark. Motion sensors stopped reporting. The guard monitors in the security office showed nothing but static. 18 minutes. Russell moved. He'd positioned the van near the southeastern corner, the furthest from the guard towers, with a wall backed up against a rocky hillside. Using a pneumatic launcher, he fired a grappling hook over the wall. It caught on its second attempt. He climbed quickly, dropping into the compound's outer perimeter. The guard dog should have detected him by now, but Eddie had also disabled their electronic collars. 3 Rottweilers appeared from the darkness, but Russell had prepared for this. He tossed chemically treated meat laced with fast-acting sedatives. The dogs went down within 30 seconds. He moved toward the main house in a low run, using the landscaping for cover. According to Eddie's maps, 2 guards should be patrolling this sector. Russell spotted them near a fountain, confused, talking into radios that crackled with static from Eddie's virus. He dropped the first guard with a suppressed shot to the head. The second turned, reaching for his weapon, but Russell's second shot caught him in the throat. Both men fell silently. 14 minutes. The compound was designed like a luxury estate. Guest houses, a pool, manicure gardens, and at the center, Santos's main residence. A 3-story hacienda where Devin would be sleeping in arrogant safety. Russell reached the pool area when gunfire erupted behind him. One of the guard towers had spotted the bodies. Alarms began to wail. Eddie's 18 minutes were up. Lights flooded the compound. Russell sprinted for the main house as bullets chewed up the ground around him. He returned fire, dropping 2 guards who emerged from a side building. A third came around a corner, and Russell put 2 rounds in his chest without breaking stride. The front door of the main house was reinforced steel. Russell pulled a shaped charge from his vest, set it against the lock mechanism, and took cover. The explosion blew the door inward. Inside, chaos. Security personnel scrambling, some still half-dressed. Russell moved through them like a ghost, his rifle barking in short, controlled bursts. Years of training took over. Assess, engage, move. Don't stop moving. A guard appeared from a hallway. Russell shot him twice. Another came from the kitchen. Russell dropped him with a headshot. The house was large, but Russell had memorized its layout. Devin's room was on the second floor, eastern wing. He reached the grand staircase as more guards poured in from outside. Russell pulled a fragmentation grenade, tossed it behind him, and took the stairs 3 at a time. The explosion shook the house. On the second floor, he encountered Santos's personal security detail, 5 men in tactical gear who'd clearly been waiting. They opened fire, and Russell dove into a bedroom, rounds punching through the doorframe. He kicked out the window, fired several shots down the hallway to keep them pinned, then climbed onto the exterior ledge. The compound was fully alert now. Searchlights swept the grounds. Below, guards formed into organized units. Russell needed to move fast. He shimmied along the ledge to the next window, Devin's room. Through the glass, he saw the young man cowering behind an overturned bed, a pistol shaking in his hands. Russell shattered the window with his rifle, but enrolled inside as Devin fired wildly. The shots went wide. Russell kicked the gun from Devin's hand and grabbed him by the throat. "Remember me?" Devin's eyes went wide with terror. "Please, please don't. You fractured my daughter's skull. You sent me a video, laughing. It was my father's idea." The video was his idea. Russell pulled out a zip tie and bound Devin's hands. "Where's Santos?" "I don't know. His panic room, maybe." "Please, I'm sorry about Sophia. I was drunk, I didn't mean." Russell hit him hard enough to shut him up, then dragged him to the window. Below, guards were setting up firing positions. The panic room, Eddie had mentioned it. Sub-basement level, access through Santos's personal office. Reinforced walls, independent air supply, could hold out for days. But Russell didn't need days. He had something better. He zip-tied Devin to an exposed pipe, then triggered the final piece of his plan, incendiary charges he'd placed at key points during his assault. Within seconds, fires erupted throughout the compound. Not enough to burn it down, but enough to create confusion and draw guards away from the main house. Russell fought his way back downstairs through smoke and chaos. Guards fired at him from multiple directions, but the smoke provided cover. He reached Santos's office, a massive room with dark wood paneling and expensive art. The panic room entrance was hidden behind a bookshelf. Russell found the mechanism and pulled. The shelf swung open, revealing a steel door with an electronic keypad. He pulled out a small cutting torch and began working on the hinges. Chapter 6. The torch burned through the first hinge after 3 minutes of intense heat. Gunfire echoed from elsewhere in the house, but no one had reached the office yet. Russell worked on the second hinge, sweat pouring down his face despite the air conditioning. A voice crackled from a speaker beside the door. "Santos, you must be Sophia's father. Russell Atkinson." Russell didn't respond, focusing on the torch. "You're impressive. 40 of my men, and you've killed what? 15? 20? But you're trapped now. More men are coming. Police, military. You can't escape." The second hinge gave way. Russell set the torch aside and pulled out a pry bar. "I'm willing to negotiate," Santos continued. "You want Devin? Take him. He's a disappointment anyway. Failed to control one weak American girl. You can have him, and we both walk away." Russell drove the pry bar into the gap between door and frame. "You're making a mistake." Santos's voice rose. "I have friends in your government. I know who you work for. I can have your daughter killed in her hospital bed with a single phone call." The door shifted slightly. Russell repositioned the pry bar. "Answer me, you arrogant." The door gave way with a shriek of metal. Russell pulled it aside and stepped into the panic room. Santos Doherty sat in a leather chair, a pistol in his lap, his face red with rage. The room was small but luxurious. Monitors showing security feeds, a small bed, shelves of supplies. A man who'd built an empire on fear and violence, now cornered in a box. "You think you've won?" Santos spat. "You think you can kill me and walk out of here?" Russell lowered his rifle. "I'm not going to kill you. Not yet. Then what? Russell shot him in the right kneecap. Santos screamed, toppling from the chair. Russell waited for the initial shock to pass, then grabbed Santos by his collar and dragged him from the panic room. Through the house, past the bodies of guards who tried to stop him. Santos screamed the entire way, cursing, threatening, begging. Russell ignored him. Outside, the compound was burning in controlled sections. Bodies littered the grounds. The surviving guards had retreated to defensive positions at the perimeter, afraid to approach the main house. Russell dragged Santos to the pool area and dropped him beside an ornate chair. Then he went back inside and brought out Devin, still zip-tied and sobbing. Dad, help me. He's going to kill us. Russell forced Devin to his knees in front of the empty chair, facing his father. Please, Devin whimpered. Please don't do this. Russell removed a knife from his belt. Devin's screaming intensified, but Russell simply cut through the zip ties on his wrists. Stand up. Devin stumbled to his feet, confused. Your father sent me a video, Russell said calmly. You were laughing about what you did to my daughter. You said she should have known her place. I'm sorry. I was drunk. I didn't mean. You fractured her skull. She almost died. I know, please. Russell looked at Santos. You threatened to send her back to me in pieces. Santos, clutching his shattered knee, glared with pure hatred. You're dead. You and your daughter. I have people everywhere. You can't hide from me. Russell smiled. I'm not going to hide from you. He turned to Devin. Run. Devin blinked. What? Run. I'm giving you 10 seconds. Then, I'm going to hunt you. Realization dawned on Devin's face. No, you can't. 1. Devin bolted. Russell counted slowly, watching the young man sprint toward the compound's main gate. At 10, he raised his rifle, sighted through the scope, and squeezed the trigger. The shot caught Devin in the right leg. He went down screaming. Russell walked toward him with measured steps. Devin tried to crawl away, leaving a blood trail. You hurt my daughter, Russell said. You laughed about it. You thought you were untouchable because of your father's money and power. Please, Devin sobbed. I'll do anything. I'll testify against my father. Russell shot him again, left shoulder. Devin's screams echoed across the compound. Your father said my daughter should have known her place. Russell stood over him. So should you. The final shot was merciful, quick and clean. Devin stopped moving. Russell walked back to Santos, who was staring at his son's body with an expression of absolute shock. You killed him, Santos whispered. You killed my boy. You threatened my daughter. Santos lunged for a gun one of the dead guards had dropped, but Russell kicked it away. Santos collapsed, weeping. Finish it, he screamed. Finish it, you coward. Kill me. Russell grabbed the ornate chair and positioned it 3 feet from Santos. Then he forced the older man to his knees, facing the empty seat. I'm not going to kill you, Russell said. Not tonight. What? You're going to kneel there and think about everything you did. How your arrogance and cruelty led to this moment. How your son died because you taught him he could hurt anyone without consequences. I'll hunt you. I'll find your daughter. Russell leaned close. You're going to kneel here until I come back. However long that takes. Days, weeks, months. You're going to wait, wondering when I'll return. And when I do, he stood up, we'll finish this conversation. He pulled out a syringe and injected Santos with a powerful sedative. Not enough to knock him out, but enough to keep him passive and disoriented. Your men will find you eventually, Russell said. They'll help you up. They'll tell you you're still powerful, still feared. They'll lie to you because that's what you pay them for. But you'll know the truth. You'll know that I walked into your fortress, killed 40 of your men, killed your son, and left you alive because killing you would be too kind. Russell picked up his rifle and walked toward the service entrance. Behind him, Santos moaned incoherently. The guards at the perimeter had formed up, but they were disorganized, leaderless. Russell slipped through a gap in their coverage, over the wall, and back to his van. As he drove away, sirens wailed in the distance. Act 3, Chapter 7. Russell crossed the border into Texas 36 hours later, using a different route and identity. Philip Mack's extraction team had been efficient. New documents, clean vehicle, route carefully planned to avoid checkpoints. News of the compound assault was everywhere. Mexican media called it a cartel war, speculating that a rival organization had attacked Santos Doherty. The official body count was 28, including Devin Doherty. Santos had been found by his guards, kneeling in front of an empty chair, catatonic. Russell arrived at San Francisco General Hospital on a gray morning. Detective Savage was waiting in the lobby. "Mr. Atkinson, interesting timing. You disappeared right before Santos Doherty's compound was attacked. I was camping in Montana. Needed to clear my head." "Right. Well, funny thing, Devin Doherty is dead. Killed in the assault. That warrant we had? Moot point now. Tragedy." Savage studied him. "You know what else is funny? About a dozen different intelligence agencies suddenly got very interested in making sure I don't look too closely at this case. Someone high up really doesn't want me asking questions about you. I wouldn't know anything about that." "Course not." Savage handed him a card. "If you ever need anything, and I mean anything, you call me. Man who can make 40 sicarios disappear in one night? That's someone I want on my side." Russell took the card. "How's the investigation going?" "What investigation? Far as I'm concerned, this was cartel business. Happens all the time down there. Dangerous place, Mexico." He smiled slightly. "Your daughter's recovery has been remarkable, by the way. Doctors say she'll make a full recovery." "Thank you, detective. Thank your guardian angel, whoever that might be." Russell found Sophia awake, sitting up in bed, reading a book. The bandages were smaller now, and color had returned to her face. When she saw him, she smiled. "Dad, where have you been?" "Had some business to take care of." He kissed her forehead. "How are you feeling?" "Better. The doctors say I can go home in a few days. There's something on the news. Devin is dead. Him and his father's compound. They're saying it was a gang attack." "That's what they're saying." Sophia looked at him for a long moment. "Dad, you didn't. All that matters is you're safe, and he can never hurt you again." Tears filled her eyes. "I was so stupid. I should have listened to you. You were trusting. That's not stupid. That's human. He took advantage of that, and he paid for it. The police asked me questions. About you. I told them you were here with me. And he told them the same thing. So did the nurses." "Did you really?" Russell sat beside her bed. "Sweetheart, there are things in my past. Things I did for the government that most people would find difficult to understand. But everything I did believing it kept people safe. Kept you safe. And now I'm retired. For real this time. I'm going to focus on being your father. Help you recover. Be there for you." Sophia took his hand. "I love you, Dad. I love you too." Over the next few weeks, as Sophia recovered, Russell monitored the situation in Mexico. Santos had emerged from his catatonic state, but was changed. According to Russell's sources, he'd become paranoid, seeing threats everywhere. He'd fired half his security team, rebuilt his compound with even more extensive defenses, and barely left his panic room. Rival cartels had sensed his weakness and begun encroaching on his territory. His organization was fragmenting. The man who'd once been one of Mexico's most powerful cartel leaders was slowly imploding. But Russell didn't move against him. Not yet. Chapter 8. 6 months passed. Sophia completed her master's degree and moved back to Montana, taking a position with a conservation organization. She was different now, harder in some ways, but also stronger. She attended therapy, worked through her trauma, and slowly rebuilt her life. Russell renovated the barn into a guest house for her and spent his days working on the farm. To anyone watching, he was simply a retired man enjoying a peaceful life. But at night, he maintained surveillance on Santos Doherty. The cartel king's empire was crumbling. The DEA had launched a major investigation, likely helped by intelligence Russell had anonymously provided. Santos's assets were being frozen, his lieutenants arrested or killed by rivals. The man was bleeding power and money. And every week, Santos received a package. No return address. Inside, a single photograph of the empty chair in front of which he'd knelt. A reminder. Russell was still out there. Still watching. Still waiting. Russell's phone rang one evening. "Philip Mack. You need to see this," Phil said. He sent a video. It showed Santos in what looked like a safe house, speaking to someone off camera. He looked 20 years older than 6 months ago, gaunt, paranoid, constantly looking over his shoulder. "He's everywhere," Santos said. "I see him in every shadow. I can't sleep. Every noise. I think it's him coming to finish it." "Who?" the off-camera voice asked. "The father. Atkinson. He's playing with me. Those photographs. He wants me to know he's coming. But when? When?" Russell watched Santos's breakdown with cold satisfaction. This was worse than death. This was torture through anticipation, a terror that never ended, never provided release. But he hadn't forgotten his promise. He would return, just not yet. Sophia found him in his workshop that evening, working on a vintage Harley. "You seem distracted," she said. "Just thinking about him." Russell looked at his daughter. She knew. Maybe she'd always known. "He threatened you," Russell said simply. "Said he'd send you back to me in pieces. Men like that don't get to make threats like that and live peacefully. So, what are you going to do? What do you think I should do?" Sophia was quiet for a long moment. I think he should live with what he's lost. Live knowing that his son died because of his own actions. Live in fear, the way he made others live in fear. And if that's not enough, then you'll do what you think is right. You always have." She kissed his cheek and went back to the house. Russell returned to his work, but his mind was already planning. 3 months later, Russell received intel that Santos had fled Mexico, using his diminishing resources to secure passage to Brazil. He was trying to disappear, to escape the life he'd built. Russell booked a flight the next day. He found Santos in a favela outside Sao Paulo, living in a small apartment under a false name. The once powerful cartel king was unrecognizable, thin, jumpy, clearly suffering from severe paranoia. Russell watched him for a week. Santos barely left the apartment. He had no guards, no protection. He was alone. On the 8th day, Russell knocked on the door. Santos opened it, and the moment he saw Russell, he collapsed to his knees. "Please," he whispered. "Please, just end it. I can't live like this anymore." Russell looked down at the broken man. "You remember what you said to me? About my daughter, knowing her place?" Santos nodded, tears streaming down his face. "You were wrong. She doesn't need to know her place. But you do." Russell pulled out a briefcase and opened it. Inside, documents, photographs, evidence of every crime Santos had ever committed. Names, dates, locations. "I've given copies to the DEA, FBI, Interpol," Russell said. "They'll be here in about 3 hours. You're going to spend the rest of your life in a maximum security prison, surrounded by people you've harmed, people who want revenge." No, please just kill me. I'm begging you. You don't get that mercy. You get to live every single day knowing your son died because of you, knowing you lost everything, knowing that a father protecting his daughter destroyed you." Russell walked to the door, then paused. "You wanted to know when I'd come back. Now you know. And now it's over." He left Santos weeping on the floor and walked out into the Sao Paulo sunshine. Chapter 9. 3 years later, Russell stood on the porch of his Montana farmhouse, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold and crimson. The air was crisp with the promise of autumn. Inside, Sophia laughed at something. She brought someone home. Owen Nicholson, a wildlife biologist she'd met through work. Russell had investigated him thoroughly, of course. Clean record, good family, genuinely cared about Sophia. They'd been dating for 8 months, and Russell had watched his daughter bloom into the confident, joyful woman she'd always been meant to be. The trauma hadn't disappeared, it never would. But she'd learned to carry it, to use it as a source of strength rather than shame. "Dad," Sophia called from inside. "Dinner's ready." Russell walked inside to find the table set, Sophia and Owen chatting comfortably. This was the life he'd fought for. Not the missions, not the eliminations, not the wars. This. Family. Peace. Safety. His phone buzzed. A news alert. Santos Doherty found dead in Brazilian prison. Apparent suicide. Russell read it twice, then deleted the notification. He felt nothing. No satisfaction, no regret. Santos was simply gone, erased from a world that didn't miss him. "Everything okay?" Sophia asked. "Everything's perfect." They ate dinner together, talking about Owen's research project, Sophia's promotion at work, plans for Thanksgiving. Normal conversation. Normal life. Later, after Owen had left and Sophia had gone to bed, Russell sat in his workshop, looking at the wall where he kept photographs. Sophia as a baby. Sophia's first day of school. Sophia graduating college. A new one now. Sophia hiking with Owen, both of them smiling, genuinely happy. He thought about the man he'd been. The eliminator, the ghost, the weapon his government had wielded for 27 years. He thought about the things he'd done, the lives he'd taken, the moral lines he'd crossed. And he thought about the promise he'd made in that hospital room. I'm going to fix this. He had. Not with official channels or legal proceedings, but with the skills and ruthlessness that years of dark work had taught him. Santos had threatened his daughter, and Russell had responded in the only language men like Santos understood. Was it justice? Maybe not in any legal sense, but it was resolution. It was protection. It was a father ensuring his daughter could sleep safely at night. A knock on the workshop door. Sophia stood there in her pajamas. Couldn't sleep, she said. Me neither. She sat beside him. I heard about Santos. The news. Did you? No. I haven't been to Brazil in 3 years. But you made sure he ended up there. In that prison. Russell didn't answer. Sophia leaned against his shoulder. Thank you, Dad. For everything. You don't need to thank me for protecting you. That's what fathers do. Not like that. Not the way you did. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Sophia spoke again. Owen asked me to move to Wyoming with him. There's a research position opening up. It's a good opportunity. Russell felt the familiar protective instinct rise, but pushed it down. What do you want to do? I want to go, but I don't want to leave you alone. I'll be fine. This is your life, sweetheart. Live it. Take chances. Fall in love. I'll always be here if you need me. Promise? Promise. She hugged him tightly. I love you, Dad. I love you too. After she went back to bed, Russell sat alone in the workshop, listening to the night sounds of Montana. Somewhere in the darkness, an owl called. The wind rustled through the trees. Peace. He thought about the empty chair in Santos's compound, the psychological torture he'd inflicted, the fear he'd weaponized. Some might call it excessive, cruel even. But those people had never watched their daughter lie in a hospital bed with a fractured skull. Those people had never received a video of someone laughing about hurting their child. Those people had never heard the threat. I'll send her back to you in pieces. Russell had done what needed to be done. Not for glory, not for revenge in the petty sense, but for justice. The kind of justice that protected the innocent and punished those who preyed on the vulnerable. He'd been a weapon for 27 years. In the end, he'd chosen to be a shield, and he'd do it all again. The night deepened. Russell turned off the workshop lights and walked back to the house, where his daughter slept safely, where tomorrow would bring new conversations, new plans, new moments of normalcy. The war was over. The enemy was defeated. The mission was complete. Russell Atkinson was finally home.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.